Well, I hope I have audio. So, good evening and welcome to Scroll'n and Making with Russ. It usually takes a few minutes. There's like a big time lag between when I push the button to start the show and when actually y'all get it over there onto YouTube. So, let me see if I can shrink this down. There we go. So there we go. We're live over there. I don't know why. I mean, it's like a 5 or 6 second delay, or maybe even more than that, before y'all actually uh, hear it over there or get it over there. So let's see who we've got out there. Matt Haas is out there. Jim Bashir's Paul's Messy Workshop. Luana Pierce is out there. Big Ben 12. Aussie Man. Um, all those are out there. Luana Pierce says, "Here's Russ at Simply Wood." Yep, I'm here. Okay, so I noticed Aussie Man was asking what we're up to tonight. This is part two of the polymer clay. I've been kind of playing around with it this week, and some of the stuff that I had learned before and uh, or thought before, I found out. I always thought you had to have a backer, and that's what I was told, and that's what I learned. But I'm beginning to wonder if you do have to have a backer. And so we'll get into that and some other things that I've been tinkering around with and found out. So, first off, let me uh, say hi and thank you to my sponsors. Let me get my water cup over here out of the way. And they are Devobal Technologies for web design, development, and hosting. Visit devobal.com. FastCap. Innovative products for the professional woodworker. Go to fastcap.com. Rockler, 60 years of woodworking. Create with confidence. Visit rockler.com. Bearwood Supply Company. Your best choice for hard to find woodworking supplies. Go to bearwood.com. Klingspor, the sanding specialist. Woodworkingshop.com. Seiko, the scroll saw specialist. Seiko.com. And here I use on the Scrolling and Making with Russ, I use my Seiko ST21 scroll saw. And Scrollnado, the dust collection for your scroll saw. You can find them on Amazon. I also use the Scrollnado on my scroll saw. And that's it. And don't forget, Saturday nights at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time right here on YouTube, Let's Talk Shop with Russ. So, but anyway, I don't know how many of y'all have ever worked with polymer clay that are out there, but it's really not very expensive. It goes a long way. You buy it in these little. We're going to go back a kind of a review over last week. You buy it in these little cubes. Sometimes the cubes are a little bigger, but most of the time they're like 1 ounce cubes. So, and it comes in a multitude of colors, and there's different brands. I use the cheapest, and the only difference that I have found out between the cheapest and the more expensive is, like I told you last time, is that the more expensive is a little bit easier to knead because you really do need to knead it. How about that? But which is you need to get it in your hands and work it and get it soft. The softer it is, the easier it is to work with. The more you put it in your hands and roll it around and knead it, the more it becomes more pliable. So that's just kind of a fast review on it. So this is the keychain I made. This one here is the keychain I made last week. Oh, and it was actually glued together like this one right here, two pieces. One piece was a solid piece in the back, and then the front piece I cut out the letters out of and used a solid piece in the back for just a backer to keep for pushing the stuff through. Okay, and what I found out was quite by accident is I used to use Titebond all the time to glue my pieces together. Well, it is true about what I found out is I use super glue, and the super glue, when it's put underneath heat, will separate. It will release it. It won't work. So you cannot, if you're using a back or anything, or you're using any kind, need to glue anything together, do not use super glue because it will release after it's been heated. It'll come apart, which is okay in a way because it allowed me to have this piece by itself. Now I've played around with this. I've shot it with a few coats of lacquer, and I'm going to use it on my keychain, and I'm going to see just how it fares without a backer. See if it holds up, if the polymer clay doesn't fall out. I'm going to test it, and I'll let you know on down the road how it works. I'm making one tonight for my wife, and she is okay. We got some problems here. Aha! Got the table set. For some reason, it got bumped and moved. I'm making one for my wife, which I've already cut out, and she's going to use it, and we're going to test it and see how it works. So anyway, but that's the first thing, is don't use super glue if you want it to stay together. But you do need some kind of a backer. Otherwise, if you push, because the second secret to this is, which we're going to go over tonight when I make some stuff, is that you really want to pack this stuff in there really, really tight as you can get it. The better, I think that's the secret for it to stay in, is the tighter you pack it and the better you pack it, the better it's going to stay, because it does expand. Okay, and it's been a long time since I've used this stuff, so this is the second keychain that I made that actually came apart too. So I decided I was going to use the back of it, and I made this for the back of it. Russ is cool. Okay, and then I glued these together after this has been in the oven, and I glued it with super glue because I'm going to test that out again to see. But my point is you can actually feel. Now, I don't know if you can see this, or if I can get this on the camera close enough to where you can see it. Well, these letters, I packed it so tight that after it got heated, it expanded enough that these letters actually come up. I can actually feel that they are risen above the wood. They're actually a little humped above the wood. So, I mean, the camera doesn't do its justice. I don't think you're going to be able to see that. But it definitely is expanded, and it's come up above the wood. I can see it and I can feel it with my eyes. So therefore it does expand, which I kind of knew when you heat stuff like that, it expands to push out into the wood, and that's kind of like locks it in. I don't know that I mentioned that during the last. I did think somebody asked me, but I don't remember what I said, or anyway. But it does expand, and so that's a good thing. So I didn't even sand this. I did not want to sand it, just in case y'all could see that it was raised up above before I even sanded it. I didn't want to on it off. But that's the second one I've made. This back popped off. It was solid. I just took it and put "is cool" on it. And this is the back, actually, that I have Nancy on. It was the back for this one. So when it popped off, I just salvaged it and put her name on that one. So I'm going to experiment with both of these and see how they hold up. I know this one will pretty well take a punishment because it's backed up against each other. But I'm not as sure about the thin one as I am the other one. I think we're just going to wait and see. I'll make Nancy one. We'll use these things. And see how it works out. So in my experimentation, I was sitting around and I was scratching my head trying to figure out whoa. Here's a way I can show you how it expanded. Can y'all see the crack? Yeah, this has been sanded. This is nice and smooth. So in this all stuff here, it's just actually letters. See the crack in that? That's actually how much that's rose up out of that wood, which is great. That's what I wanted it to do. I mean, that's a good 1/16 of an inch or so that is expanded up above that wood. Yeah, it's a good 1/16 of an inch. Okay, so if you don't have a backer, I mean, in one way it's pretty cool. You can put a backer on it, put it in the oven, cook it, and then if you use super glue it pops off, so you got another piece. But I was sitting around scratching my head. If you don't use a backer, then what can you use? So I came up with, this is a piece of tile that I have from a job that I had done one time. Ceramic tile. It's about 3/8, it ain't a quarter of an inch thick. Yeah, it's a quarter of an inch thick, maybe a little bit more, whatever. But anyway, it's glazed like ceramic tile. Nice flat surface because it's glazed. The polymer clay won't stick to it. So therefore, when I did this, it's cool on this one, I did it on top of this in a tile. So I pushed it all the way through, and what is neat about that is you can actually flip it over and make sure that it's all the way filled up on both sides. So it got me to thinking you could not only use a piece of ceramic tile. If you don't have that, you could use a piece of corian. If you can get a scrap piece of corian that's very big, you could use a piece of plate glass. Do not use, or not plate glass, tempered glass, I mean. Use a piece of tempered glass. Do not use plate glass. Plate glass is what's in most of your household windows, and it's real thin, brittle. It'll break. You try to put some pressure on it, and next thing you know, you might be going to the hospital and getting stitches. So don't use plate glass. Use tempered glass. Tempered glass is the kind of glass that like is in your glass sliding door. So it will take a beating and keep on ticking. So you want to use tempered glass, but a piece of tempered glass would work. A piece of Lexan, but the problem with Lexan, I think you would need to get it a little bit thicker. Most of your normally Lexan that I've seen that you buy at the big box stores like Home Depot is fairly thin. I think you need something a little bit more substantial than that. So tempered glass, a piece of tile, corian, a piece of what is it, DEP or DP? What is it called? High density HDPE, high density polyethylene. Yeah, a piece of marble. But anything that you use, you kind of want it to be like like this tiles really, and glass, for instance, are really a smooth, slick surface, so that the polymer clay doesn't really want to stick to it. Now, I've got news for you. When you start pushing through on this, it actually does want to stick to it. Matter of fact, while I'm talking, let me go ahead and pull out the pink, because I want to make my wife. I only have certain colors of this, and I'm going to make her a pink. We're going to use the pink for her name. But if the marble is really good and slick, then that's fine. A piece of marble would work. It doesn't shrink; it expands. Yeah, I didn't know for sure because it's been a long time since I've used polymer clay and made keychains. It's been years. So I wanted to know, so I packed this one really good, and I can tell you it swelled up outside. Like I said, you can see it. There's a pretty good crack right there. It's swelled up above, the letters are sticking up, and this is totally cool. This has been out of the oven for hours, so it hasn't went down. It's staying. So once you start heating it, it expands and it does not contract when it cools. So HDEP, high density polyethylene. Yeah, that would work. Corian. Matter of fact, before I was going to use this tile, I had a piece of corian that I had was going to save for something else, but I had decided to use it for this, and so I was going to have to cut it. And lo and behold, I ran across this piece of tile and used it, and I'm glad I didn't have to cut my corian. You could use this piece of silicone, use a silicone baking sheet. Yes, don't tell Nancy. The problem of it being is, though, whatever you use, you want it to be non-stick, like tile or glass, and you want it to be a hard surface so that when you push through, it's not silicone. I'm afraid would not work as good. Silicone baking sheet. it would work for not sticking, but when you're trying to force this stuff through, it would push up against the silicone and it wouldn't work as good. So anyway, but you need this stuff in your hands to get it pliable. And kind of thin it down. I like roll, after I've kneaded a little bit, I roll it to kind of get it a little thinner so that I can start. And let me get my glasses on here. My nose, somebody must be coming in to visit because my nose is itching. Alright, I'm going to have to do this different because this is not going to work. Let me take my headset off and put my glasses on. I had to go to this band on my glasses. Working out in the shop, my glasses kept on wanting to fall off my nose, and I tried to adjust them, and I did everything I could do, and finally I said to heck with it. So I got that elastic band I put on my glasses, and I don't have to worry about it. They stay right in position. But yeah, you just start working your way. We did this last week, but here's the nice thing about it. You've got this hard backer here. So now you don't have to worry about it, and you just do the same thing. Yes, I shot it with a couple of 2 or 3 coats of lacquer before you put polymer. Yes, you need to seal it. It won't affect it. I've never had that part affected as far as in the oven. But if you don't seal it with like something before you start putting the polymer clay in it, the polymer clay will stain. I'm getting orange in here in the that was leftover residual. The polymer clay will stain the wood, especially if you're using a light wood. Now this is Baltic birch plywood, but it'll stain it. Now you see what's nice about that is I'm pushing it through. See, you can see what's filled or not filled. So this works very, very, very well. Like I said, you just kind of want to thin this down, and then I use a putty knife and just proceed. You could use your thumbs or if you wanted to, but I just found out the putty knife works just so much better applying pressure to it and pushing it down in there. We got another little. Yes, I used that last week. Remember? Yep, I did it last week. I used a small drill bit to push it down in there. But that was when I had a backer. Actually, now that I don't have to have a backer, since I have this tile behind there, and you're going to be pushing through the other side, you don't even need it. Yeah, I used a drill bit last week. If you go back and watch the video, you'll see. But yeah, you just push this stuff down in. This is about the hardest part right here, is just getting it packed into the letters. One thing you need to be careful of, since you don't have a backer and it's not glued down, I can foresee happening, is on really pieces that are really small, like this piece of this Y, I think you could break that if you aren't careful and use a little too much force. See, with a backer, that would be have some glue on the back of it, kind of helping support it, and so to hold it in position. Now it's just kind of standing out there like an island. So I think if you used excessive force, you might just break that off. I would just be careful when it comes to small pieces. Okay, so we pretty well got this front covered in. So there's the kind of a job I did in packing. You can see a lot of pieces that are a lot of places that I didn't get it packed in real good. So that's the reason I say you kind of like you want to pack it as hard as you can. Now, the easiest way I figured out to get this scraped across and leave nice flat letters. Now you can take this and push your thumb down on it and push it more down in there. But since I have access to the back, I can put some on the back. But if you use the putty knife is not as sharp, and it has a tendency to actually pull some of the putty out of the letters. So I learned to use a razor blade scraper and just go along and scrape. Use kind of a rocking motion. You don't want to use a lot of force pushing down because you'll dig into your wood. But if you'll take your time and just go across it, it will. Or just if you don't have a scraper, if you just used a razor blade. Now I have some indentations I need to fill, but what I'm going to do before I do that is to go ahead and flip it over, and let's fill this back side. And maybe by pushing up against this back side, it'll fill the front side. It is, and the longer you need to spend some time kneading it, because the longer I didn't take a lot of time to knead it tonight. I should have started right off the bat whenever I was talking in the beginning, but the longer you knead it, the softer it gets. And I explained last week they've got a new one out which I didn't even know existed, and the new one is it's actually pre-softened, so it says no kneading necessary. But now that's one of the more expensive ones. Yeah, if you warmed it up, I'm sure it would help. That's part of what does it in your hands. In other words, you holding it in your hands is warming it up. So maybe if you put it into a warm area like out in the sun, I don't know if that I would. You got to be careful. You got to realize heat activates this stuff. So you put it in the oven to try to warm it up, and guess what you just did? Now you made you a solid block of putty. Now most of the ones that I seen were I can't think of the name of the other brand. There was a real popular brand out there. I can't think of the name of it off the top of my head. But most of the ones I've seen is 275 degrees for 15 minutes for every 1/4 of an inch thick. So what that means is if you have a 1/4 of an inch thick piece of, which this is a 1/4 of an inch, I would only need to do it for 275 degrees for 15 minutes. A half an inch would be 30 minutes. But now this one on the back I read last week is different. It actually is 300 degrees, do not exceed 350, and anywhere between 0 to 30 minutes. I think it said. Here, let me read on the, oops. I don't have the package, I threw it away. So, but if I remember right, it says from 0 to 30 minutes. Yeah, it's not no 400 or 500 degrees to get this stuff to set. It's actually a very low temperature. Alright, so let's flip it over and check. And yeah, see, by applying that to the back, it actually helped push these areas through on the front that I felt were. And the same thing with this. You just want to lightly wiggle it back and forth. It hasn't never stained my fingers. I've never had it stain it. I've had it stick to it. You can put it in any way you want. And just make sure that it's all nice and full. Sometimes your fingers is absolutely the best. A little low spot there, and I want to push it in with my fingers. So it could, each brand is somewhat a little different. So you're just going to whatever brand you buy, but the most that I have seen out of the one that I had before was 275 degrees for every 15 minutes. So what you're going to have to do, like this one, this one said 300 degrees, do not exceed 350 from 0 to 30 minutes. So each brand's going to be somewhat different. You need whatever you buy, read the instructions. Okay. So I'm satisfied with that. And all this is going to sand, all this other stuff is going to sand off. I mean, you can go through and give it a little bit of one last scrape. You don't, the biggest thing about this stuff is you don't want a mound. You don't want it humped up. You want to get it fairly flat, fairly thin. The reason being is because you've got to sand all this crap off. So if you hump this stuff up, you know, a quarter of an inch on top of this wood, you're going to sand a quarter of an inch of this stuff off. So I would suggest you didn't do that. That kind of makes it nice that you can push down on the tile and kind of wiggle it a little bit and push it in. So, all right. So last week, Rose, and I can't think of her last name, but I know it was Rose, and she might be out there in the chat tonight. She used her polymer clay on a vase of Steve Goods, and it was a lizard, and she used multiple colors. Well, I was hoping, I couldn't remember, but I didn't have green. I knew I had red, so I'm not. I'm just going to do this all one color. So Steve Good has a pattern out there. It's a mini vase. Okay, so now before, if I was going to do this, I would take, you know how there's three pieces to the vase. There's center pieces. This is a quarter of an inch. There'd be a center piece of 3/4 of an inch that is hollow, and then there'd be the backside. Okay, what I would do what I would do is I would lay the centerpiece on and trace around it so I knew where it was, and then glue a piece of backer on this and just leave it inside the vase. But now that I've discovered how to do this, you don't need to do that. You can just push this through the same way we did with the keychain. So I think, do I do this flower in red or pink or yellow or orange? What here say, everyone? What do we think? Oh, and the next thing you need to do is clean your table off. Get all the little, and that's what I like about using this tile. I can just simply wipe it like this, and that stuff wipes right off without any problem. And I just wipe it on my pants. These are my work pants, work shorts. So what do we do? Pink, red, orange, or yellow? Nobody's voting. Yes. Yeah, Katie says yes. What is that supposed to mean? I don't have green. I already said that. Because I bought only these four colors. You send me, Paul's saying, why don't I make it with green? I don't have green. Paul, send me a check or a Visa gift card for $25 and I'll go buy green. Just for you. No, I said the $25 so I can buy a multitude of colors. No, this packet with these four colors, 4 1-ounce bars, it was only, I think it was $4.99. Usually a single, you can get it at Hobby Lobby, Michael's. Paul's wanting to know because he was not here last week. Shame on Paul, bad boy. But you can get a Hobby Lobby, Michael's. We found out Walmart carries it, so you can get it at several places. And so far, yellow seems to be the predominant color. I think yellow too. I think yellow would really stand out. I kind of agree with that. Now, the other brand, cool. He said, Paul said he looked on Amazon and he can get a 24 piece, 24-piece set of polymer clay for $10. So oven baked. Let me I'm going to check something real quick before we go any further. So I'll be right back. Okay, so I have some of these left. These I bought and they're no good. And not unless I can figure out something that I can put in them to soften them, because they're hard as a rock. They're no longer where they'll be pliable. So anyway, these I bought a few years ago, but I haven't used them. And this is Craft Smart, and this I know came from Michaels. Yeah. Okay. So anyway, so I know, like I said, I know they got this at Michaels. This was their brand, and this was actually the cheapest I could find at the time. And so this is Craft Smart from Michaels, and it actually says on it, knead clay for 2 minutes, bake at 275 degrees for 15 minutes per quarter of an inch. See, that's the norm that I have read, is 275 degrees for 15 minutes. So, but once again, like I said, you need to follow whatever brand you buy, their instructions. This particular brand here that I bought from Hobby Lobby said 300 degrees for 0 to 30 minutes. So, and I baked this one, and I baked this one at 300 degrees for 15 minutes, and both of them turned out fantastic. So yeah, I think we're going to go with a yellow flour. It's just a matter of me getting everything clean, get rid of the pink and the orange that I've got all over the place. Gotta be careful with that razor blade, it'll be cut my leg off. Okay, so let's go with the yellow. Bright and nice and shiny. Yellow. I finally dumped my garbage can over here beside me. It was like 6 inches above the can with wood pieces in it from Scroll'n. I had to actually get a bag and put some of them in them because I couldn't even pick the can up. It was falling out. All the stuff was falling out from it. So, all right. So I'm going to need. Now, I've been just storing this stuff in a plastic baggie. When I'm through, I just put it in a plastic baggie. But we're going to need it. It says needs for 2 minutes, so somebody start their stopwatch. Tell me when 2 minutes is up. Tim Guba is out there in the chat. Howdy. Brenda G's Designs has joined us. Dennis Goodson has joined us. Luana Pierce, Katie Dotson. All those people have joined us. Thank you very much. I appreciate it. James Parker's joined us. Yeah, Luana had a good. When you put it in the plastic bag, try to squeeze all the air out of much air as possible out of the bag, so it's not got any air in it. But that's other than that, that's the only really way I know that you can to save it, to squeeze it. Unless you got one of those food saver things, and you can put it in there and suck all the air out of it. That would be the only other suggestion I would have. Was vacuum seal systems. Alright, that's 2 minutes to me. Now this thing's a lot bigger. That was just a little over a minute. Well, no wonder. I gotta still need it some more. It's actually pulling some of the orange out of my fingers from where at my skin. It hasn't stained my skin, but there's enough residual orange laying about that it's actually pulling some of it out. So in other words, if you're going to change colors, I guess you need to wash your hands. And yes, this is. Hoping I can get this orange worked out of this because it's actually kind of staining the top. I think I got it pretty well worked out, but I do know from my experience in doing key changes, the better you can pack this stuff, the better off you are. And now that I've learned that you can use something like this piece of tile, that way you can access, it doesn't have to have a backer, you can access the back. It makes it even better. Luana, have you used this polymer clay very much? You have some experience with it? Let me know what she replies back. And if you have used it with your experience, what did you use it for? Somebody dropped. Yeah, somebody dropped the microphone in my ear. Sculptures with it. Okay, yeah, that's what most people do. Okay. Like I said, I can't. That's what this stuff was designed for. Really, was to sculpt stuff out, and then you bake it, and it hardens it, and then you had your sculpture. They got all kind of little mini tools, uh, small tools for carving, where or for sculpting this stuff at the hobby stores. I don't remember, to be honest with you, where I learned about using this stuff as sculpted pins with it. Huh, cool. Yeah. I think she's. No, you're not talking about an ink pen. You're actually talking about pins like you put on your dress or your blouse or whatever. Ah, cool. Very cool. Like I said, I don't actually remember uh, if it's something I thought of or somebody else. I heard it somebody else. I don't remember. It's been so long. Alright, let's see what kind of a job. Boy, I didn't do good on that. That's one thing that's nice about using this tile. Is that you can actually see who is what. Yeah, that's alright. I'm just deaf in one ear now. That's a good idea. That's a good idea. Uh, a J roller. Actually, I have a roller, but I'm not going to use it for fear that this stuff will get on there, and then if I use my roller for what I normally use it for, I'll have colors in it. I would need to buy a small J roller just for this. That actually is a good idea. You put it out there in the chat, right? Mike Bennett. Mike Bennett, that's a good idea. A J roller. I know exactly what you're talking about. That is pretty good. Yeah, that would work. I know last week I tried a piece of matte wax paper on this table here underneath this, and it was more of a pain in the butt than anything. Yeah, I had a lot of problems with the wax paper just getting, trying to push this around and everything. It was like, but Paul had come up with a good idea. If I put a piece of wax paper over this, and let's try that. I've got some. I've got a roller. That's not too far from me. And if nothing else, I'll use. Yeah, you could use anything your little heart desires. You use. Let me put you on hold here for a second and grab that roller and a piece of. I'll use this plastic baggie if nothing else. Okie dokie. We'll give it a second for y'all to catch back up to me. And okay, so this is what I had got. Got a piece of wax paper. Let's move stuff around here. I have this roller. Yeah. Well, if this works out, this will make this a lot easier. who's the genius that thought of this? I like Mike Bennett Sr. Wow. Dude, it's working good. It works really good. I like that. I don't know why I'm doing it on the back side. I only need to do it on the front, but I just wanted to fill it in to make sure it expanded good. Because if this back side, when I take this and run it across, if it opens up any spots, I'm not going to come back and really fill it in. It's the front side I'm worried about. Let's give it one last packing. There we go. I think, yeah, I think you're on to something, Mr. Bennett. Thank you very, very, very much for mentioning that. Because this seems to work. It seemed to work very, very, very well. These places are so big that as soon as I remove it, it kind of looks like it wants to shrink down in there. Wow, this is a lot. Where were you at the last show? Yeah, I know. I think this roller is made out of a material that I'm not going to have to worry about it, but I want to be careful. I think I'm going to leave this a little humped up and just, I have a drum sander, so it's not like I am worried about having to get this stuff off. We'll try scraping it this way. Here, let me see something. Would it actually be easier? Ah, well, it was a fantastic idea, let me tell you. Yeah, I am. I'm just going to leave this kind of humped up. Normally you wouldn't want to leave. What is Katie saying? Oh, okay. So Brenda G's Design says, Mike Bennett Center, where have you been all of Russ's life? And so, oh, jeez. Oh, jeez. Is there a way to ban or block Katie Dotson? Oh, Lord. All right. So that's it. That's all I'm going to do with it. I'm actually going to leave that humped up a little tiny bit because every single time I try to scrape it off very much, it seems like it's taking off too much. And I would rather err on the, well, this stuff shrinks. I mean, doesn't shrink. So I'm going to try this one more time. I'm going to go back and forth with it. That seemed to work better. That seemed to work better. I'm going, if you notice, I'm going with the grain of the wood, by the way. This is pine. Yep, this is just pine. There we go. That seemed to work better by just going back and forth with the. Here I got orange in there. It'll come sanded out. No, it'll come sand. It'll sand out. All right, so there we have it. I love you too. Yeah, it did. I'm glad that Mike thought of that. That roller worked very, very, very well. So, Mike, kudos to you, man. That worked very well. It did help push it down in there. So, confession. Hey, I have not cut myself as of yet. Okay? I have not cut myself as of yet. So, going to put this orange with this orange, put it in the bag. Going to put this pink with this pink, put it in the bag. The yellow is with the yellow, and the red is here. And I'm going to push all the air out and seal it as good as I can. And this Ziploc is not wanting to lock. There we go. Finally got it to kick in. So that's the way I store mine. So there you have it. We have the Russ is cool and Russ. And Katie, if you think I'm putting your name on anything, you're crazy. especially after sitting there saying I'm going to whine about it if I cut myself for weeks. So, hey, no blood. So, let me get rid of these glasses. Yeah, this is a elastic band, and like I said, I had to go through and my glasses just kept sliding off of my nose, and I was having so many problems. Dennis Goodson said, "My wife just dug out a spatula type tool from her Cricut stuff. Looks like that would work." Yeah, they actually. Uh, you have time to bake them? No, I'm not going to have time tonight. It's 8:30. So, and it worked out good too. I did discover that you don't have to throw this stuff right in the oven after you do this. I left these keychains that I did out. That one that I did that night, I didn't bake it. I left it laying here on the scroll saw. Got up the next day, fired the oven off, stuck it in there, and baked it, and it worked fine. So you don't have to bake it right that minute. So this stuff here, the vase, and Nancy's keychain, I'm not going to bake them till tomorrow too. I just don't want to take the time tonight. So yeah. I put suspenders on my glasses. Yeah, they kept on falling down. First off, I'd put them on, and then they slide in the end of my nose, which is not bad because then I could look over to see to walk. But then I would be bent over doing, and they'd fall, and I got tired of it. So I went to the store and found this elastic band, and I was like, all right, that's what I'm getting. I like it. It works great, and used it and put it over my head, and they quit falling off. So got it at the Wally World. It's elastic. Cost me like a couple of bucks. So all right. So Russ got to use. James said I got to use my new saw today, and I'm very happy with it. He got a brand new DeWalt 788 scroll saw. People were asking what kind of saw. He bought it from me when I was up at Rockler working. His scroll saw was having problems, and he didn't want to worry about messing with it right then, and wanted a new saw, so he bought a brand new old Yeller 788. So you have to have it. Nancy is cool, not Russ. No, Nancy's not cool. Nancy's beautiful. She's not cool. Jim Shears says first guys lose their butt and then need suspenders to hold their pants up. Then we lose our minds and need a strap to hold our glasses. Yep. Yep, I haven't. Most of your old men, yeah, we'll see them wearing suspenders. I haven't. Now, I used to. I had a hard time with my tool belt, and I bought some heavy duty suspenders and put them on and hooked them to my tool belt to help my tool belt hold up. So, but there you have it. I'm going to bake this at 300 degrees for about 15 minutes. That's what I did this one at, and that's what I did Russ is cool at. So I'll bake Nancy and that tomorrow, and you can put more than one project in there at a time. So, but anyway, so this is part two. It can have tons of applications. I used to think you had to have a backer. I've learned. Well, let's put it this way. I'm going to experiment with this hook, and Nancy's. I'm gonna give it to her. We're gonna try it and then use it for a while and see how well this holds up. If the polymer clay wants to fall out from the wood, or if it stays put. I have a sneaking suspicion it's going to stay put, because if you pack it really tight and it expands into that wood, so much like on this one that it actually raised up above. That tells me it's, it's really pushed into the wood good enough it's just not going to fall out. So we shall see. But there you have it. Polymer clay, it's cheap. Wally World, Amazon, Michaels, Hobby Lobby, any of those places you can give it. But you can get it, and it's not really that expensive. Like I said, I think for all four of those colors cost me, 4 1 ounce bars cost me. I think it was $4.99, right? $5. So, yep, Nancy's gonna get baked tomorrow. That's for sure. Yeah. Yep. Paul was saying if you get it at Michael's, sometimes you can find that 40% off coupon. So that'd be a time to go in there and stock up. I want to check in, find out if there's any way for me to I've got several bars of this stuff left. Revitalize this stuff. I want to check online and see what I can put in it to revitalize it. See if it's still. It's not 100% hard, but I opened one package. I don't remember what color it was, and when I tried to, like with this stuff, I tried to knead it, it just kind of like crumbled. So I was like, I didn't throw them all away. I'm gonna look and see if there's anything I can get to order to revitalize it for just throwing them away. But I mean, in the same aspect, if it's gonna cost me $20 for a bottle of stuff to revitalize it, I'll just throw it all away and go buy more because it'll be cheaper. But if I can get something for a couple of bucks, or if I can find something they tell you like maybe alcohol will revitalize it, maybe mineral spirits will revitalize it, maybe something that I have right already available, and maybe that'll revitalize it. So we'll see. Okay. Paul just informed me that he looked it up on Google, and it said to chop it up into small pieces, add a little bit of mineral or baby oil to it, and remix it up and put it in a plastic bag and seal it and leave it for a few days. I've got mineral oil and I've got baby oil. Yeah. Yes, it would be because I've got like 6 or 8 bars. These are 2 ounce bars. You can see the difference on the size of these. Yeah, these are 2 ounce bars. And I've got like 8 of these 2 ounce bars in different colors. I've got pink, I've got all kind of colors. And so the one that I opened and crumbled, I just threw it away. But I'm only lost one. But if I can revitalize these, that'd be good. I'll give that a try, and then one of these nights, if y'all will remind me, hey, did you ever try to get that stuff to work? I'll let you know how it works out. But that's it for the polymer clay. You can use it in your scroll saw projects. You could, like I said, you could put on this little vase, uh, make it look really good. If I'd have had the green, I would have done the green in the stem and the leaf, and then done either a yellow or a red in the flower. So you can mix up the colors like that. That's no big deal. Uh, if you wanted to actually do individual the petals in different shades, you could. What you would need to do is take a lot of time and get something. I would actually at that point go to the stores and buy their little sculpting things like Katie was talking about the cuticle or whatever, but little somethings like that to push it and pack it into the little holes that for the different colors if you wanted to do that. So, and somebody did ask last week about if you could mix mica with it, and they found out that mica and polymer clay are best friends. They go well together, so you can mix some mica in with it to make it a little sparklier or whatever. So, you know what? I bet you could use glitter. I bet you could use glitter. I gotta try that and put glitter in it because you're only talking about 300 degrees or 275, 300 degrees. That's not really that hot. So, but experiment. y'all out there experiment with some of your projects, and then let me know how it worked out, how it happened. So, well, experiment with it. So, all right, guys. Well, that's all for tonight. Let me get a drink of water here, real quick. I appreciate y'all all being out there and watching. Hope you learned something, and you'll take that, and glycerin will help it revive acrylic paints that are past their prime. Glycerin, okay. Good suggestions. Uh, Back to what was his name that thought about the roller? Mike Bennett. Yeah, yeah. That worked really well for pushing that into that. So, hmm, interesting. See, aha. Okay, have to try that. Have to try that. Yeah, all kinds of. They have all kind. Yeah, go to the hobby store where this clay is sold, and you'll see all kind. And they're not expensive. They were reasonably priced. So if you're wanting to do some of this, where you actually, the different petals, do different shades or whatever, something more like the Rose did the lizard in the vase of Steve Good's pattern. See, she used a lot of multicolors in that lizard, so little tools like that would help you pack that clay down in there. So, fondant tools will work. Also, if you cannot find clay tools, Luana said fondant. Yep. Well, hundreds of ideas. So, put them in your projects. Bring your projects to life a little bit more. Put a little pizzazz, a little bling in them rather than just a plain piece of wood. I think it looks good. So, well, we're going to cut out of here. I appreciate all y'all being out there. Luana, Katie Dotson, Brenda G, Mike Bennett, James Parker, Dennis Goodson. Almost said Godson again. Dennis Goodson, Mike Bennett Sr. All y'all have been out there. Aussie Man has been out there. Thank you, Aussie Man, for watching. I appreciate it. All y'all have been out there in the chat. I appreciate you all very much, and thank you Jim and Paul for being in my ear. There's only one thing we got left to do, and that is when the sun comes a peeping into where I'm sleeping, it's out to my shop I go, just making piles of sawdust and getting covered from head to toe. Good night, everybody. Thank you for watching, and God bless.